You know those moments in relationships when something feels off? When you left wondering, what just happened? Or why did she react that way? There's something going on beneath the surface that most men completely miss. Women are constantly testing you, evaluating you, and measuring your worth as a man, often without even realizing they were doing it. These hidden games aren't malicious. They are deeply rooted in female psychology. And if you don't understand what's happening, you'll keep failing these tests without even knowing you were taking them. Ivy spent years studying relationship dynamics and female psychology, and Ivy noticed patterns that most dating coaches want to tell you about. These subtle tests determine whether she sees you as a high-value man worth investing in or just another guy she'll eventually lose interest in. What's fascinating is that most women aren't consciously running these tests. They're operating from instinctual drives hardwired over thousands of years of evolution. Think about Ryan from Chicago. He'd have been dating Sophia for about 3 months when she suddenly became distant, taking hours to respond to his texts, canceling plans last minute. Ryan's reaction? He doubled down, sending more messages, asking what was wrong, trying to fix whatever problem he thought existed. Within 2 weeks, she ended things. What Ryan didn't realize was that he was being tested. His neediness and desperate attempts to regain her attention actually confirmed what she was unconsciously evaluating. Could he maintain his composure and strength when things got challenging? Here's the truth nobody's telling you. Women test men because they need to know if you're emotionally stable and strong enough to be a reliable partner. These tests aren't meant to torture you. They're redesigned to reveal your true character under pressure. And once you understand the psychology behind these tests, you'll never be caught off guard again. The first test almost every woman runs is the consistency test. She's watching to see if your behavior remains stable regardless of whether you've just met, been dating for weeks, or are in a committed relationship. Many guys put their best foot forward initially, showing confidence, independence, and strength. But as soon as they feel comfortable, they switch, becoming needy, possessive, or completely changing their personality. Women are naturally tuned to detect these shifts because inconsistency signals potential danger or manipulation. Remember, female psychology is built around risk assessment. They reevaluating if you'd read the same person in all contexts. Let me give you a real example. Jason from Seattle thought things were going great with Amber after 2 amazing dates. On their 3rd meeting, she casually mentioned a male friend she was having lunch with the following day. Jason's reaction? His body tensed up, his tone changed, and he started asking a series of questions about this friend. Though he thought he was being subtle, Amber immediately sensed the shift from the confident man she'd been attracted to into someone insecure. Jason failed the consistency test because the moment he felt threatened, his true emotional foundation was revealed. The second major test is the independence test. Women are unconsciously evaluating whether you have your own life, opinions, and boundaries. Many men mistakenly believe that making a woman the absolute center of their universe is the path to her heart. The reality is exactly the opposite. When you abandon your friends, hobbies, and perspectives to merge completely with hers, you were actually failing a critical test. Female psychology responds positively to men who maintain healthy separation and continue investing in themselves. Look at what happened with Michael from Denver. When he started dating Olivia, he was busy with his fitness routine, weekend hiking trips with friends, and a side business he was passionate about. Olivia was initially drawn to his full, independent life, but within months, Michael had rearranged everything to revolve around her schedule. He dropped his Sunday basketball league because she might want to do something that day. He stopped seeing friends unless she was invited too. The more he centered his world around her, the more her attraction mysteriously faded, until she told him she needed space. The independence test reveals whether you are a complete man on your own, or if you're looking for a woman to give your life meaning and purpose. The third test that women unconsciously deploy is the emotional reaction test. This is perhaps the most powerful and frequently administered test in her arsenal. She's evaluating how easily you can be emotionally destabilized. Can she push your buttons and get you to react with anger, jealousy, insecurity, or neediness? Or do you remain centered regardless of what she says or does? Brandon from Philadelphia experienced this firsthand. During a conversation with his girlfriend Taylor, she casually mentioned that her ex was more ambitious in his career. Many men would immediately become defensive, try to prove their worth, or criticize the ex. Brandon simply nodded and said, "That's interesting. I am pretty happy with my path, though." His non-reaction spoke volumes. He passed the test because he didn't need her validation of his choices. His self-worth wasn't dependent on her comparison. Taylor later admitted she felt more attracted to him after that moment, though she couldn't exactly explain why. The emotional reaction test separates men who are internally validated from those seeking constant external approval. The fourth test is the attention validation test. Women will intentionally withdraw attention, affection, or communication to see how you respond. Will you chase harder, become angry, act hurt, or will you maintain your composure and match her energy? This test reveals whether you value yourself independently of her validation. The attention validation test continues to be one of the most common yet misunderstood tests women run. When she suddenly takes longer to respond to messages, seems less enthusiastic about seeing you, or pulls back physically, most men make a critical mistake. They increase pursuit. They send multiple texts, plan elaborate dates, or directly ask what's wrong. What these men don't realize is that by chasing harder when she pulls away, they re-failing the test spectacularly. Consider what happened with Alex from Boston. He'd been dating Emma for about 2 months when her texting patterns changed. Instead of responding within minutes like before, she started taking hours or sometimes a full day. Alex, worried he was losing her interest, began sending follow-up messages, asking if she was okay, and suggesting more date ideas to fix the situation. The more he chased, the more she withdrew, until eventually she told him things were moving too fast. What Alex didn't understand was that Emma wasn't necessarily losing interest initially. She was unconsciously testing his security and self-worth. By reacting with neediness, he confirmed a lack of inner confidence. The correct response to the attention validation test is counterintuitive but psychologically powerful. Match her energy and focus on your own life. When she pulls back, you pull back equally. Not as manipulation, but as a natural consequence of having self-respect and a fulfilling life beyond the relationship. This response communicates that while you value her, you don't need her validation to feel complete. The female mind registers this as strength and often responds by re-engaging with renewed interest. The fifth test is the social evaluation test. Women carefully observe how you interact with others, your friends, her friends, waitstaff, strangers. This test reveals your true character when you are not trying to impress her directly. Are you genuinely respectful to everyone? Or do you only show your best self to people you want something from? Do you become a different person around your friends? Do you seek constant attention in social settings? Jake from Nashville experienced this when he took Megan to a friend's dinner party. Throughout the evening, Jake interrupted others, dominated conversations, and subtly put down his friends to make himself look better. While he was charming directly to Megan, she noticed the disconnect between how he treated her versus others. Though she didn't mention it that night, her attraction diminished significantly. The social evaluation test reveals whether your character is consistent or if you are merely performing when you think it matters. Women are particularly attuned to how you treat service workers like bartenders, waiters, and rideshare drivers. When you are rude or dismissive to someone serving you, it signals to her primitive brain, "This is how he'll treat me once he gets comfortable." Even small interactions carry significant weight in her unconscious evaluation of your character. The sixth test is the priority test. This subtle evaluation examines whether you maintain healthy boundaries or let her override all your priorities, plans, and commitments. Contrary to what many men believe, women aren't attracted to guys who drop everything whenever they call. That behavior signals desperation, not devotion. David from Phoenix learned this lesson when he started dating Rebecca. He had tickets to a concert with his brother when Rebecca called last minute wanting to see him. David immediately canceled on his brother to accommodate her. Rather than being impressed by his willingness to prioritize her, Rebecca found herself less attracted to him afterward. The priority test separates men who have a strong sense of integrity and commitment from those who will abandon their word at the first sign of female attention. To pass the priority test, you must maintain appropriate boundaries. This means sometimes saying, "I'd love to see you, but I already committed to this plan." The female mind registers this as integrity rather than rejection. She unconsciously thinks, if he honors his commitments to others, he'll honor his commitments to me. This creates a foundation of respect that far outweighs the momentary disappointment of not getting her immediate desire met. The 7th test is the adversity test. Women unconsciously create situations to see how you handle challenges, stress, or conflict. Do you remain calm and solution-oriented, or do you become emotional, blame others, or fall apart? Your response reveals your emotional stability and leadership capacity. Connor from Austin experienced this when Kelly accidentally brought up a sensitive topic about his work during dinner with friends. Rather than becoming defensive or shutting down, Connor addressed it calmly, with a touch of humor, before smoothly changing the subject. Later, Kelly admitted she'd been impressed by his composure. The adversity test separates emotionally mature men from those who haven't developed emotional regulation skills. The 8th test, and perhaps the most powerful, is the competition test. Women will casually mention other men, an ex, a coworker who asked her out, or a guy at the gym who helped her. To gauge your reaction, will you become jealous, insecure, or controlling? Or will you remain unfazed, confident in your value? The competition test reveals your deepest insecurities or your genuine self-confidence. When a woman mentions other men in her life, she's not necessarily trying to make you jealous. She's unconsciously evaluating how secure you are in your own value. This test separates men who possess authentic confidence from those who merely pretend to be confident when unchallenged. Sean from Seattle faced this test when his girlfriend Olivia mentioned a new coworker who had been really helpful during her first week at a new job. She casually commented on how smart and friendly he was several times in conversation. Many men would immediately become territorial, asking probing questions or making dismissive comments about this unknown man. Sean simply nodded and asked, "That's great. What project are you working on together?" His relaxed response communicated volumes. He wasn't threatened because he was secure in his own value. Olivia later found herself even more attracted to Sean, though she couldn't articulate exactly why. The psychology behind the competition test is fascinating. Women are biologically wired to seek men who other women find attractive. It's called pre-selection in evolutionary psychology. However, they were simultaneously testing to see if you'll become unattractively possessive or insecure when faced with potential competition. The ideal response shows that you're desirable enough to be confident, but secure enough not to need constant reassurance. To pass the competition test, avoid interrogating her about other men. Don't make disparaging comments about men she mentions, and never reveal jealousy or insecurity. Instead, show genuine disinterest, not because you suppressing feelings, but because you truly aren't threatened. Your emotional state shouldn't depend on whether she interacts with other men, because your value isn't determined by her exclusive attention. The 9th test women unconsciously deploy is the emotional support test. This evaluates whether you can provide solid emotional support without becoming emotionally drained yourself. When she shares problems or frustrations, are you a steady rock, or do you become anxious, overwhelmed, or immediately try to fix everything? Mark from Chicago experienced this when his girlfriend Jessica called upset about a conflict with her boss. Mark listened attentively, asked clarifying questions, and offered perspective without trying to solve the problem for her. He remained emotionally steady while still being empathetic. This balance of strength and understanding is exactly what women are testing for. Can you handle emotional intensity without becoming emotionally destabilized yourself? Many men fail this test in one of two ways. Either by becoming emotionally overwhelmed themselves, which makes her feel unsafe, or by being completely emotionally detached, which makes her feel unsupported. The sweet spot is emotional presence without emotional reactivity. You acknowledge her feelings without being consumed by them. This creates the psychological safety women need in a relationship, while maintaining the strength they respect. The 10th test is the appreciation test. Women will intentionally reduce verbal appreciation and praise to see if you continue giving your best without constant validation. Will you become resentful, withdraw effort, or directly demand recognition? Or will you continue being your best self regardless of external validation? Tyler from Nashville experienced this when his girlfriend Madison stopped verbally acknowledging the things he did for her. He continued planning thoughtful dates, remaining attentive, and bringing his best self to the relationship without complaining about the lack of appreciation. Eventually, Madison started expressing gratitude again, more deeply than before. The appreciation test reveals whether you re-giving to get something in return or giving because that's who you are. Now, how should you respond to these tests? First, understand that reacting with anger, accusations, or direct confrontation about being tested will only make things worse. These tests operate largely at an unconscious level. Explicitly calling them out creates awkwardness and defensiveness. Instead, develop these 4 response strategies. First, maintain emotional stability regardless of her behavior. When she says or does something provocative, take a breath before responding. Ask yourself, is this a test of my emotional security? Often, just identifying the test neutralizes its power over you. Second, focus on non-reactivity. This doesn't mean becoming emotionally flat or unresponsive. It means choosing your responses rather than being triggered into them. When she tests your jealousy, for example, consciously choose calm confidence rather than reactively displaying insecurity. Third, maintain healthy boundaries consistently. When she tests your independence by making increasingly demanding requests, calmly hold your ground on things that matter. You might say, I understand that's important to you, and I'd like to find a solution that works for both of us. This balanced approach shows respect for her needs while maintaining self-respect. Fourth, develop unshakable inner confidence that doesn't depend on her validation. This is the master key to passing all female tests. When your self-worth comes from within, her testing behaviors lose their power to destabilize you. This doesn't happen overnight, but it's a skill you can develop through consistent practice and self-awareness. Let's talk about a real example. Chris from Denver had been dating Melissa for several months when she began making subtle comments comparing him to her more successful ex. Initially, Chris became defensive, trying to prove his worth by highlighting his achievements and potential. This reaction only intensified her comments. After learning about these psychological tests, Chris changed his approach. The next time Melissa made a comparison, he simply smiled and said, "It sounds like he was quite accomplished. I am on my own path, though, and I am pretty happy with where I am heading." Then he changed the subject. His non-reactive response completely shifted the dynamic. Melissa never brought up the comparison again, and later admitted she felt more attracted to him after that interaction. The psychology here is clear. When you react defensively to tests, you confirm the underlying insecurity she's testing for. When you respond with genuine self-assurance, you demonstrate the strength she's unconsciously seeking. Fifth, learn to respond with curious detachment rather than emotional investment. When she tests you by withdrawing attention or seeming disinterested, instead of chasing harder, try responding with light curiosity. "You seem a bit distant today. Everything okay?" Then, regardless of her answer, continue with your day without dwelling on it. This approach shows you attentive, but not desperate for her approval. Kevin from Austin used this strategy when his girlfriend Sophia suddenly became cold during a dinner date after he greeted a female friend. Rather than apologizing profusely or becoming defensive, Kevin simply noticed the shift and asked once if everything was okay. When she said, "I am fine," clearly not fine, Kevin didn't press the issue or try to fix her mood. He continued enjoying his meal and kept the conversation light. By dessert, Sophia had warmed up again, impressed by his emotional stability. Had Kevin reacted with insecurity or frustration, the evening would likely have spiraled downward. Sixth, master the art of appropriate disengagement. When tests escalate to manipulative behavior, the most powerful response is often temporarily removing your attention and presence. This isn't about punishment or games. It's about demonstrating through actions that your presence in her life is contingent on mutual respect. Jason from Portland used this effectively when his girlfriend Taylor began regularly making disrespectful comments in front of friends. Rather than arguing or pleading, Jason simply said, "I don't think we bringing out the best in each other tonight. I am going to head out." He left calmly, without drama, and spent the evening doing something he enjoyed. The next day, Taylor called with a genuine apology. His willingness to walk away rather than tolerate disrespect completely reset the relationship dynamic. Seventh, develop the skill of positive redirection. When she tests you with negativity, complaints, or provocations, acknowledge her feelings briefly, then confidently shift to a more constructive topic. This demonstrates emotional leadership, a quality women deeply respect in men. Matt from Chicago employed this when his date Rachel began complaining about all her previous relationships within the first 20 minutes of meeting. Rather than joining the negativity or trying to prove he was different, Matt listened briefly, then said, "Sounds like you've had some challenging experiences. Hey, speaking of challenges, I heard this place has an amazing chocolate lava cake that's supposedly impossible to finish. Should we put that theory to the test later?" His ability to acknowledge her feelings without being drawn into the negativity showed emotional strength and leadership. The final and perhaps most important strategy is to develop genuine self-improvement that isn't too dependent on relationship outcomes. The strongest position is being a man who continuously grows not to keep a woman, but because personal evolution is your life's mission. When you are genuinely invested in becoming your best self, tests have less power because your value isn't tied to any single relationship's success or failure. Remember that these tests never completely stop. They simply become less frequent and less intense when you consistently pass them. Even in long-term relationships, occasional testing is normal and healthy. It's her unconscious way of confirming that you remain the strong, confident man she was initially attracted to. If you've found this breakdown of female testing behavior eye-opening, make sure to hit that like button. These insights come from years of studying relationship psychology and helping men navigate complex relationship dynamics. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful content on understanding female psychology and building stronger relationships. Drop a comment below, sharing which of these tests you have experienced in your own relationships. I read every comment and use your experiences to shape future videos. Until next time, keep evolving and stay strong.